X-Lights Advanced. I'll just tell you that I could take one part of this, I have taken one part of this and taken 2 hours to do a deep dive. I've made over 100 videos, they're on YouTube. If you search for Sean Meehan on YouTube, you'll find my channel. There are so many videos, I don't even know what's in them. There's a saying in Six Sigma, which you always introduce a defect when you solve one, and the defect with those videos is they're so big, unless you know what's in them, you're going to listen for 2 hours, and it might have the kernel, that the jewel that you've been looking for. But you have to listen through 2 hours. Anyone who would like to volunteer and index the content of about 300 hours of video, I would suggest you don't do that, because I'm going to recreate the videos for X-Lights 4, and I'm going to do them with a table of contents. Also, Catherine Bear, over in the corner, has asked if we could do a more intense training than 45 minutes. So we are tentatively planning a 2-day, 16-hour intense training session in September in Denver. We will probably charge between $150 and $200 for that weekend, which I think it'll be a Saturday and Sunday to have to get a venue, probably taught by the same people you see here. That class will include a printed manual with a description of every effect and what all the sliders mean. So by itself, I think that's worth it. So I'll post on the forums. You already know I'm the spam king when it comes to forums. I post on 25 places. I post on forums you don't even know exist. And I'm in the Facebook group. If you don't know, has everyone been to the X-Lights Facebook group? Has anyone never seen the X-Lights Facebook group? Okay, if you go to Facebook and search X-Lights, you'll find that there are 2. I manage one, and Barry Diedrich manages the other one. He started it first. I started a second one because we had a disagreement on how to manage the membership. I post in both, so if you see that there's 2 of them and sometimes people are posting in one, I'm glad that I have 2 of them to have to take care of. Then, do you all know about FalconChristmas.com? That's like the gold. That's where Captain Murdoch hangs out. He is the primary developer of the Falcon Pi Player, and it's where Dave hangs out, who is the creator of all those cool Falcon boards. So Falcon Christmas is a major place to go, and the other one is nutcracker123.com/forum. Nutcracker123.com/forum is my website for the X-Lights forum. I used to get like 2 posts a week, and now it's like 10 or 20 a day. That is Gil here. So Gil Jones, as you know, is one of the 2 primary developers, along with Dan Culp. The major person answering your questions is Gil. So I want to say thanks to Gil. You really want to see, and today is going to be X-Lights Advanced, Advanced Pi Player, and then Gil is going to be talking about the effects that he's created, like the Morph and Galaxy and Fan. And I don't know if he'll do any others. Why I get sure I take up time up here on the front. I wish they would have let us in like just about a half an hour earlier. It would have worked out a little bit better. The other thing I'll mention is that later at the end of this hour, the person from the Great American Light Fight is next door and is running the symposium on, boy, we'd really like to get you guys to come and participate. They're all full up for this year, so the reason they're here is trying to get someone for next year. I've asked her to come in, I'll introduce her. If you have even an inkling, and a lot of your shows would qualify, they have kind of run out of people. They've done this for 2 years. And the reason they're here is they need more. And all she needs is your email address and she'll contact you. But the main thing is you need to take videos of your show this year so you can submit it into May of next year. You don't want to think, I'd want to do this come April and then go, well, I wish I'd taken a video. And they especially, their producer likes videos that are taken with a quad copy. Everyone's the same. All right, so how many of you used X-Lights last season? And how many of you have never used X-Lights? Okay. And how many of you use lore as a sequencer? It's always about the same at the expo. How about HLS? How about LSP? How about Vixen 2.1, 2.5, or Vixen Plus? Your lone guy back there. How about Vixen 3? And then any of you use just X-Lights as your sequencer and nothing else? So if you're, I don't know if you're aware of it, there are people who are now sequencing only their AC lights and only an X-Lights. They're not using lore anymore. It is able to do that. We have a couple of people with 300 or 400 AC channels, build all the models. I'm not going to go through the AC portion of how to do models and layouts, but you can mix RGB in your front yard. You can mix AC. You can do a color wash on the left side to the right side, and all your AC lights will turn on. Like if you're doing a bar, your RGB will turn on, your AC lights will turn on, your candy canes would turn on and move. That all works now. With some of the additional effects that were added this year, AC works a lot better. Now, when I wrote X-Lights, or when I wrote Nutcracker originally in 2012, I had 16 channels of AC, and I have 24,000 channels of RGB. And correctly, people would say that we were focused on RGB. That was why I wrote it. But there are now people who are using it for both. I'm hoping that this overview will give you an idea of some of the more advanced features of X-Lights, but on any one of them, it takes an hour to get through some of the stuff we have. We have so much content, it's one of the defects. There's no lights. I block.
It's not a hardware problem.
Yeah. Men always say that. Because Chris and Dave together managed to make the X-Lights team very happy because of the new P10. The P10 panels are used commercially to build the jumbotrons in stadiums. You can get an 8x16 panel for $11 shipped. That's a freaking pile of channels that you're going to go add, and this one is 4x5, I think, and has 10,000 lights in it. So that panel is 30,000 channels. Last year, people would say, I have a really big show, it's 5,000 channels. And then we come this year, and I've had people post, I want to start my model at 120,000. Start the channel. We never gave that ability because we never thought we'd hear people talking about going past 100,000 channels. In our dinner last night, we were talking about what we think the channel counts are going to go to, thanks to that, and thanks to the other new feature that Chris just added, which is this virtual buffer. And we're talking about approaching close to 1 million channels. It'll happen in the next couple of years, and we're talking about the architecture that could possibly generate channel counts that high. The good news for you is right now in this meeting, we're talking about the future that would support channel counts that are higher than you probably will see. You believe that, but then you all want to get some big matrix like this, thanks very much. And then the other thing that Chris has created is the ability to take your video projector that you're playing Frozen and then define it as being 1,000 by 700 virtual pixels. And while you're playing the video, you can then switch and on your garage door play Nutcracker effects because it thinks that it's just a matrix. Not a 128 by 80 like this, 30,000 channels. How about a 400 by 400, 600 by 600? And we will approach with one video projector, if you go crazy, 1 million channels, which is easy for them to do. In fact, he has it ready to run. And we're going, how can we possibly generate 1 million channels? So now we are working on what's the architecture that would allow that. So the first thing I want to go through is, how many of you use Audacity? How many of you use the VAMP plugins? Very good. So I'll spend just a little time on that. You know, since I became absent-minded, which was in 1972, needed to find my glasses. I won't see the screen. So from the beginning class, remember that we don't care.
So this input on the projector is VGA, actually. VGA, well, there's VGA cable in here.
I'm HDMI. So, but it wasn't powered on when I powered on my machine, so I didn't see it. Another minion. Okay, good. Thank you to all of the people who help support. All right, so remember in the setup tab, we don't care what you put here for generating your sequences. You're going to define a bunch of channels that you're going to use. They can be all Renard, they could be all lower USB, they could be E131. What we will care is the channel number that we set on the model is going to point to some place, which means you could change this later and you don't have to change your sequence. I went through the test tab, which allows you to go and turn on lights. So let me see if these guys did a good job. In order to output the lights, you should be able to click that. It should be able to select that. So when you're in test, we don't understand any RGB, we assume RGB. There's nothing that you can set up here that would set string order. We're just going to output a direction. When you're generating the models, you get to say that this model is RGB, GBR and stuff, so don't be surprised when you come to the test that the two of them are in a different order. You can use, though, this test screen to find out if you have configured your box correctly. If you know the beginning channel numbers, you can come and set that ought to have been the first. No, let me go and do this. Hello. No, it's close enough. Did it turn on?
Yeah. One.
Okay. And 128 channels means channel 385. would be the next. You know, just ask for new features. You can see I'm going down. This is the part where I, yeah, it doesn't work. Just need not to click too many times. I'm glad that the people help. This is how you make the audience feel they're helping. I did that on purpose. All right. If I turn on the second channel, if it comes out green, then my controller is set up right. I don't know whatever else was done. You know that we suggest to not change the color order in your model, do it in your controller. It'll make it easier for you in lots of ways. It makes the test screen work correctly. You can save stuff that you mark so that you can come back later and say, load up a set of channels and it'll pre-check them. Okay, then we come over to the convert button, and you can convert from any type of data to any other kind of data. And for the lower users, which is 90% of you, in XLights 3, starting in about January of 2013, this is the only way you could bring in lore data. You would convert an LMS file into an XSEQ file. The way the conversion routine was written, if the LMS file said do a ramp, we would sample the data, build an intensity file, and store binary data. And I don't know how many times I get asked this question, how come I can't see my lore data in the preview window? We do not have, the preview window shows you the XLights effects. You say do a spiral, you say do a ramp. But when you convert the data, it's just a big blob of binary data, and so nothing shows up in the layout. The data is converted, it's been put into a binary file. If you press play, if I converted your lore file and you had lore sequencing that panel, I convert it and I play it, the lights would be exactly like what they're in lore. But the sequencer tab would be totally empty. It's been that way for 2.5 years. In XLights 4, and about a month or two ago, Dan Culp went and added another way to bring in your lore data. Second way. The second way is that you come up here and do import. And you get to pick, list of work, Superstar or LMS or LAS. I'm not sure why it's not. I'm not sure what it, oh, it's still testing. Let's see if I can get back now. This is what you do on purpose to show you what happens when you get stuck, and see if I can actually have to kill the program to get it back. So in here there will be SUP, LMS, LAS. Could someone kill this for me? And restart it. So if you import the data using this, your lore data, all AC channels, will show up in the sequence window and will look exactly like they did in lore. Import. Okay, so what import will do is say, I found a lore ramp, make an XML ramp. I found a lore on, make an XML, XLights on. Amazing. It has a negative, a side effect. Some of the lore LMS files are filled with crazy stuff. You get, if you get a lot of data, you have 800 megabyte files, you can bring it in this method and you can end up with a whole bunch of effects, 10,000 effects all on the screen. In that case, you might be better to use the other method. Go through and convert your data. What's the negative of that? You can't edit it. You bring it in, and you forever will be tied to lore because you will have to go back to lore if you change it. If you use import, and you're in one of the group that's planning to not use lore anymore, you bring the data in, and now everything you did, all your work, is in the sequencer window, and you can edit the timing, edit the color, set the effects, and you will never need to go back to lore. Basically, that's I'm coming all across imported data.
Does that have to start new sequence and pick that hello world data at that time too? Is that the same as the import? All right, I start a new sequence and I say I'm gonna bring in my LOR sequence that I already done in that step process.
I believe that answer is it's a convert, not an import.
Okay.
Correct, Gil. When your button on the new sequence and it says which data you want to bring in, it's converting. Yeah.
Okay, so you can't edit that. You have to later import to see what you're.
Now, Gil did set this up so that that conversion of the data goes to a data layer. It's on your sequence. It'll remember the name of the file, and you can just press a button, and it'll automatically convert the data in the future.
Okay.
So you add a bunch of X-Lights effects, but you had gone back and modified lore, come to this button to re-import, and when you press that to re-convert, it'll go through that whole process for you automatically. Now you have to remember, I modified lore, press that button. Whereas the import function is more of, I'm really gonna cut the ties, and I'm gonna live inside only X-Lights from now on. These guys with 300 or 400 channels who are only sequencing AC in X-Lights, they used import to bring the data in. They would not use a convert because they actually want to edit it. They want to change timing and move it around. So 2 ways to bringing in data. I gave a talk yesterday on Papagayo. I'll not go over that today. It's like another hour. If you are interested, I am going to post a tutorial on Papagayo. You're supposed to say when, and then good minions, remember? No. All right. So you notice I didn't answer. I don't know how many people of you have used the scheduler that's in X-Lights. Anyone use X-Lights as your scheduler? You run your show by X-Lights? Okay, this number is going down. It's probably going down because of the Pi player. I used X-Lights in 2012. Rock solid scheduler, does everything you want. No lag, works on a laptop. And then in 2013, when Dave invented the Pi player, I started using it. In 2014, I had 3 of them and 3 projectors. And I don't know what I'll have this year. We haven't touched this software. This tab hasn't been modified in 3 or 4 years. It's rock solid. So when people ask us, well, are we going to add the overlay capability like the Pi player? We are not. We have very limited time. It's a rock solid scheduler, but we are not enhancing the scheduler in X-Lights anymore because it's not the future. The future is going to be the Pi player. It does amazing things that this doesn't do. And I don't know if you're aware of, when you go and do a playlist, that there's a button here about custom script. I don't have a playlist. If you click custom script, it's going to show you the actual script of the playlist. And in that script, it's written in BASIC. You know, the old BASIC from the 70s. And you can edit it and do things like output an RDS string. You can say, turn on a relay at the beginning of this point, and you're doing system commands from Windows. You can do things like play a video right here. That has been in X-Lights since 2010, and people don't know it. What you don't know is when you're creating a playlist, you come here and select, I have to go and create a, no, I'll probably go on. You create a schedule, you create dates, you select files to go into your playlist, and they can be movie files or sound files. And when you do all of that, you go, and I want it to play every day from 5 to 10. If you will click here, you normally don't see it. Over here, it will show you the entire script that has been written to do what you just clicked on, and you can edit it. So you can come and say, put out the string. So you've had the ability to do customization of the playlists in Xlights for 6 years, and most people don't know it. All right, now we'll come to the sequencer tab. Let's see if I have a sequence I can open up. So this, microphone's broken. Okay, this is demonstrating the crash report for our beta software. When we get a crash report, it's going to create a zip file, and in this zip file, notice that besides this backtrace file, which is actually what was running when it crashed, it is going to include a copy of the sequence file, and it's going to include a copy of the Xlights RGB effects. That means that any crash report you have a backup of all of your models. So I'm giving you another plus of the crash. For you who don't do the automatic function 10 backup like you should, crash often, and you're backing up your stuff. Yeah, I'll spend that good. Okay. The crash report will go into here. When you send this file up, we should be able to duplicate the crash. You have to tell us what you were doing. Good. We need more E131. Does someone know how far the models went? Dave or Chris, are you guys here?
Plus 100 something first. I don't know that. Maybe it's at number 64.
32,000. Add another 50, you said? That message meant that I didn't build a big enough pile down here, that the two models together are exceeding the range of the setup tab.
So how many have there, do you have the 58 address?
Oh, I don't know.
You just did multicast.
Multicast, I'll solve it. That'll cause, when I put something on this model, that's just going to show up on both of them. All right. Did you guys set up a second IP on here?
There was.
No, I just added, so there's not. And let's start over. Do you want to fix this, Dave? Minion number 2. That's okay. You can tell the relationship Dave and I have. A lot of times he tells me, go make this thing like a candy cane, and I'll go and do it. Yeah, this is the part of we set up for the room. It seems so easy. When you use Audacity and set your timing marks, are you marking music phrases or you're marking bars? So how many of you use Audacity to mark up bars and beats? And how many of you use Audacity to mark up music phrases? Okay, the music phrase guys win. They're the hard ones to do, but you get both. In Xlights, you get to have as many timing tracks as you want. I went through yesterday, mark up bars, mark up beats, mark up note onsets, and mark up music phrases. When you go and see da 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 da, that's one music phrase, and then it repeats. If you think about Nutcracker effects, you do not want to make them only half a second or 1 second. None of our effects look good except for color wash or on. So when if you look at people's shows, they are not changing on every beat. You want to make sure they change exactly on the downbeat, but you're not changing them on the 40 beats that occur. You're changing them on music phrases. So you're making too many timing marks. If you put in all of the beats, you're using the timing marks to say one of these is going to be the start, and then it'll come forward about 5 seconds, and then where's exactly the beat. You can do it that way. But if you would listen to the music and mark the music phrases, you'll end up with only 30 marks, not 500. And you'll sequence faster because you go and drop, I want an effect here, and it's 5 seconds long. And if you want to change the effect, you do that. The question?
So are you marking those manually, or are you using one of the plugins in Audacity to do the phrase?
There is no plugin to find music phrases.
Okay.
And as I've mentioned before, when you install Nutcracker, there are 50 songs already pre-marked up. And if you see a file, it's in the install directory, program files, x86, xlights, songs, and then Carol of the Bells, Wizard of Winter, and there's 50 of them. If I have manually marked up the music phrases, you will find them in there. But if you're playing Audacity, you can type Control B, as in Baker, Control B, and then label where the music phrase starts. Or don't use Audacity at all, and press play in xlights and press the letter T. T is timing mark. You're playing it, you only press twice. And because it's so easy to adjust the timing mark, you zoom in on the waveform and you can nail it to 125 milliseconds. You can be right on. I find it's faster. Now, if you do it that way, your timing marks you just made cannot be shared, because we don't have an export of our current timing marks exported into an Audacity formed file of 3 columns, tab delimited. I don't think we have that ability. We could add it, but we're kind of thinking timing marks are coming in, not that you added timing marks and now we're going to export it so you can go give it to another person. Whereas if you do an Audacity, you can share that among everybody. Okay, let me go down the list. Let's talk about movies, why Chris plays. In my show, I play Frozen and sequence to it. So let me tell you the process of how to get a movie sequenced in xlights. There's 2 ways to do that. The first way is that you run FFmpeg and you change your movie into 1,000 pictures. I went through this yesterday in the advanced class. I'll post a link to it, ffmpeg-r20-i, the name of the file, -s, the size, and then the name of the output file. There'll be a test. So you type that command, and it will go through your movie, resample it at 20 frames per second to make sure the lip sync works. If you don't do that, and you have a 29 frame per second movie, and you play it back at 20 frames per second, the lip sync's not gonna, the lip sync will work, but it's going to look wrong because it's slower. FFmpeg will resize your 1200 by 800 movie down to 128 by 80, down to 16 by 50. So you have to resize the giant images of a movie, and you want them to appear small on every frame. FFmpeg will do that. And what will happen is my Frozen movie could end up being F-1 through F-999. I go to pictures, I open up F-1, and magically a movie starts playing. That's method 1, put a movie on there. Method 2 is I want to play a movie on my projector. I have 3 pipe layers, 1 master, 2 slaves. In my show, I have 3 projectors, 1 on each one. I want to play the same movie on all 3 of them. And I want them to be perfectly synced. If Frozen was running, you would see them singing exactly the same. Just think how difficult that is to imagine to do in any other way. So thanks to Captain Murdoch and his whiz-bang pipe player stuff, that works, because he's keeping the 3 of them in sync. But how do you sequence it in X-Lights? We don't allow you in X-Lights to open an MP4 file. By the way, X-Lights 3 did. This was easier in X-Lights 3 than it is in X-Lights 4. X-Lights 3, you could open an MP3 or an MP4. We don't prompt you, we don't allow an MP4 as an audio file. So you have to get your MP4 file converted to an MP3 audio file so that you can actually open it. If you go and plug in the FFmpeg plugin for Audacity that's on my releases page, Audacity will now open up MP4 files. And what it does is it pulls the audio track out, and then you can put timing marks and do whatever you want, and then you save it as an MP3 file. There are also programs that will convert MP4 to MP3. FFmpeg is one of those programs. And there's web pages that you can give an MP4 and it'll give you an MP3. You drop the MP3 as the sound file that you sequence in X-Lights. But then when you want to send to the pipe player and say it wants the media file, do not send it in MP3, send it in MP4. It's the exact same timing, it's the same file, but it has video. So I sequence against the soundtrack of Frozen and pick what I want and turn on all the lights that should turn on. And then I actually send the MP4 file, and in the Pi, when it's playing the show, it pulls the audio from the MP4 and pops it out. Now I have a movie coming on the projector synced, and all the lights, I've picked all the timing marks from the sound, and they will be synced to the show perfectly. And if I send that same MP4 to the other 2 Pis, when I say start playing, all 3 movies start and stay in sync to within 1 frame while they're playing. If you're doing a whole house projection, and you're going to send a movie for the right side of your house and a movie from the left side of your house, you're going to go into something like Power Director and make these separate masks. I want this to be the right side projection of whatever your video you're putting on your house, and this is the left side. And when you have separate videos, Power Director and some of the other video editors allow you to save each of those video tracks as a separate video file. So video file left, video file right. Timeline is exactly the same. So I send the left video file to Pi player who has the projector on the left side, the right video file to the Pi player on the right side, the master who may only have an audio track and is running the lights. When it runs, it tells the 2 slaves to start playing the videos that are perfectly in sync, and you have multiple projectors with different video for doing the whole house projection, projecting from different directions.
Do you already have a video on how to do this, or?
I did not make a video. It was a goal.
It's on the list.
You know it's on goal. It's on my list. Are there questions before I get to actually turning lights on? Are there questions in using X-Lights that you have that you wonder about what it would take or what it takes to run? What is your biggest problem with X-Lights? Oh, that's good. Okay. The what? Conversion from lower. I agree. Conversion from lower, conversion from LSP, conversion from Vixen, conversion from HLS. But I would mention there is no other sequencer that tries to convert everybody else's sequencers into theirs, because it means that we spend a lot of time to figure out what they're doing, and there is no other sequencer has told us how they actually write their files. We have to reverse engineer them, and there is no other sequencer that will import our files. So nobody will take ours, but we're trying to take everybody else's. It is a work. We have improved the lower import because they're not always consistent. Sometimes you guys use a track for a timing track. How would we know that that track you don't want to actually come in? Because to us it'll look like it's just another track. And should we turn stuff off? And what about nulls? And what if you have a track that you're bringing in and there's no model that matches that track? What should we do with it? So as we try to put more features in for the conversion, we're making the conversion more complicated. It has more power, but it has more complexity. And then you will say, what does this checkbox mean? And what would be good is if we had a really clear user's manual for it. Do any of you want to volunteer? The silence is deafening, so the work falls on us, and it sometimes is overwhelming with the number of people who will make requests to us. We don't have a lot of resources, and it is a part-time job for us. We have full-time jobs, and we have families, and both Gil and I are scoutmasters, and we're actively involved, and I play in 5 bands, so I have concerts almost every other week. So to find time to do this, and then we give it away for free. We'll do our best. We are making improvements. You see by the number of releases, we're constantly improving it. I wish I could commit to it. I could be hard-nosed and say just use X-Lights and forget about it, and then you lose all of your work. And we've never had that philosophy. We understand how much you've invested. In fact, the largest investment you have is the amount of time it took you to become proficient in a sequencer so that you're comfortable about knowing you can make a song. And we're asking you to do something very difficult. Come over and learn yet another one. But this run totally different than the ones in the past. Am I close? Yes?
What's the correct procedure one of the great things about this to me, I've used it for years, is you can build models that you're going to have and sequence it all, and then once you decide on the hardware, you can go change the hardware. With X-Lights 4, what's the correct procedure? Like we're changing our show this year, I have to go change all my models to where I don't have artifacts when I play the FSEQ file.
Okay, the question is, you build your show and you've had models and they're using some channel range, and then you decide to change everything around. You're finding stuff left over from what you had before. I had something from 1 to 100, now I'm going to make a 50 to 200, but what about that 1 to 49 channel range, because I had already created something in it and it's stored in my binary file. One way to fix it is just delete the FSEQ. That file, by the way, can be deleted at any time. When someone says you have a problem, you go, I'll share your sequence. Don't ever send an FSEQ file. They are totally useless to us. They have no data that's of any value for us to diagnose, and you can recreate them at any time. Now in the Settings tab, we have a overwrite canvas. Gil, what are the 2 choices? When you're going render, when you go to render and you want it to erase before it's...
Under settings, there's 2 render modes now. One's to support the old way where you used to do a conversion and convert to an XSEQ file, and then you would put your effects on top of it. And that file never got deleted, like the data in there. So if you moved the Nutcracker effect, then where you moved it, you just like blew away some of your data. So the new way it works, that's why we recommend importing as a data layer, because now your data layer is always preserved and you can never lose that data. So it's called canvas mode and erase mode. Erase mode will always delete everything that's in the FSEQ file. Canvas mode is kind of, I think of it like a paint canvas. You know, once you paint the effect there, it's there. It never deletes it. So our default is erase mode because we thought that it's less confusing to most people. Because if you're in canvas mode and you move the Nutcracker effect, that spot where you moved it from still has the data from the effect. And that's kind of the way it used to work. So in the old days, they used to always tell people to delete that file. And that's why I came up with the data layer concept, so that you could have that data stored in a separate file, which is called ISEQ. And we kind of have a pointer to that internally. It's basically the exact same format as an FSEQ file. It's just we never touch that file. We do it
But the ISEQ layers work because we start with an empty FSEQ and then bring the layers in. So
So all you would do is open an old sequence, or go change your models, open an old sequence and hit save, and it would erase the old file and rewrite it.
If you have the render mode set to erase.
yeah, so let me show that button. You should all know this, or we didn't do a good job. Render mode right here.
Right now, if you don't have sequence.
I got to open the sequence to be able to do that. Last time I tried this didn't work very good. And now I think I'm going to start a new one just to be. I wanted to show you the new one anyway. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm going to create a new sequence. We already went through that you have to have constant bit rate, so I'm going to use a file that I already saved, just constant bit rate. You all know that this is not timing. This is how many frames for the minimum frames that we will generate of the song. This is when you can import your lower data. I'm not going to do that. This is when you can import timing. I won't do that either. Then you come up. It is definitely not intuitive that you have to click on this and edit display items. I don't know what the better GUI is, but as you sit here, yeah, you have a waveform, but you have to come and add some models into it. And this should be that one. Then you're going to go and you can either drag and type the letter T, try that again. I don't know why I'm not seeing the scroll line. Now let me try resetting that. Sometimes, by the way, with what just happened, if you drag a little range like this and then you press play, it ends up it'll only play that range. This is like, isn't this cool? You can drag a range, and when you press play, it'll play that range. But what if you make a little one right in the very beginning? If you make one right at the beginning, I keep pressing play and nothing's happening. But what it's actually doing is replaying that one pixel wide thing, and I go, oh, what is it doing? So if I reset it, and now press play, all of a sudden it comes back. More minion training. What I'm lucky is that I can't do any things the minions are doing. I have no clue. So they come in and they do this magic stuff. So they should be called elves. I'll be the minion. All right, you want to hear what was loud? All right, I'm going to put one here. And notice when you can zoom in, you can make the timing mark dead on. There has been an enhancement request. Could we make this signal look larger? Somewhere in there. Visually, our waveform draws this, but Carol of the Bells has a signal that you actually can't see here. Let me zoom back. As you know, you're going to drop the effects. Let's go ahead and see. The question was, will the effects work? All right, well, I think we've gone as far as we can go with our effects here. You can use the on effect, and the on effect, let me drag this over, has the ability to give start intensity and ending intensity. This is what you use to do ramps. So being able to go and set a ramp is done with on. We don't have anything called ramp. Ramp is this. By default, it'll start at the full color and end at the same color. If you come down here to the color window and you have multiple colors, on is a single color. So if I turn off red, then it'll use the second one. Our little color selector tells you which one it's going to use. A lot of the effects can use all 6. This particular one can only use 1, and we scan left to right to decide which one you're going to use. And you can add some more other stuff here. This also highlights our windows are dockable. This is something Dave Pitts created by using the advanced UI of WX widgets. So you can pull windows over, you can drop windows and they will auto dock. You can also drag these windows and continue dragging and putting them on a second monitor. That's all new in 4. We never had that ability before. You can have multiple monitors. You can size your windows. So this ability to undock and dock to size the windows individually is all in 4. And when you are finally done setting up all of these windows, you can save it as a perspective. And a perspective is how you want all the windows laid out. And you can have different ones. Maybe you want the effect windows so you can tweak on them. I find it hard. I'm on a laptop, by the way. You guys are really demanding. Does it run on Windows XP? I'm trying on Windows Vista. How about Windows 7 and 8, and Windows 10, and Mac, and Linux? I wanted to run on a laptop that only has 7 by 500 resolution. I needed to go on Retina displays that are 4,000 by 4,000. Every one of those is another test condition that we have to go test for. We run on more platforms than anybody else on Earth, and we are trying to support old crappy hardware and brand new super rocket software hardware. And then I go, yeah, we can do it, and then I ask Gail and Dan, and then they go do it. So to be clear, you'll hear me refer to the people who are coding. You never hear my name. I wrote the effects that are in here a couple of years ago, but right now I'm like packaging and releasing, and I'm the cheerleader for Gil and Dan. They're the guys who are, the reason there's content every week, it's not me. They'll come and say, I did this new great big thing, and then I'll say there's a new release, and then people say, thanks, Sean. And Gil's over there going, what about me? So remember, Gil writes it, I release it. Dan writes it, I release it. All right, so that was on. Let's go look at some others. I usually, in the advanced, go through the effects so that you understand what they are, but on is also the ramp. You can set from the starting to the end and be able to get it to ramp.
Can you use that on ramp to feed into another effect? Like, say I want to put butterfly up, but I want to bring butterfly from 0 to 100%.
Yeah, like a transition.
Like, can you use that ramp on an effect? Ramp the effect that you have to bring it up.
Yes. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. What you want to do is have another layer in here. Remember, you can put as many layers as you want. And if I come and put butterfly, and then I come and put on.
Can you just fade on the butterfly in or out? One layer.
On where, Gil?
Effect setting for on the layer, bottom left there. Yeah, fade in, fade out.
Yeah. If you put in time here,
Yeah, there's a couple ways to do it.
Okay.
you put in time here on any effect, it'll start from black, and then in half a second, it'll bring you to full effect. If you use the effects that are down on the layer, which is right here, and where did the window go? Oh, it's up here. And that's the cool part of finding where it went. Layer blending. We have a lot of choices. I'll try to give a test. What's good is not even all the developers know what these are, and I don't remember what they are, and I wrote some of them. So I just put them in. If we're good, what we would do is show you with an A and B effect what the effect would look like as it blends, like in video editing. A is morphing to B, A fades out, B fades up. Effect 1 means only, if you have 2 rows, effect 1 is the one above it. If you have 20 rows and you're on row 10, effect 1 is row 10, and effect 2 is row 11. So these are all relative to the row that you're on. Effect 1 is, I don't care what 2's doing, just show it. Effect 2 is, doesn't matter what's above me, I'll use effect 2. Then you start using all of the way of blending the 2. Effect 1 is only show 2 if 1 has a black value, a non-black value. It's like if you cut out a silhouette, then it'll show a cross. The other one is only show a value when there's a black color in 1. The 1 is mask is that any non-black value is what will do the masking. Like if I had text. If I had, say, ABC, this one is going to, and the butterfly on the bottom, you'll have a butterfly with a black ABC. But if I do 1 is unmasked, then you're going to get the ABC with a butterfly color in the background. And then 1 reveals 2 is that the 2 of them are together, but if there's ever a pixel where they both have a value, 1 takes precedence. And then cast shadow on 1, and layer takes the 2 and adds them together and averages them. All I can say is try them. So we got 12 different ones to do, and then you can have 100 layers. So that's 1,200 combinations. Good luck. All right, let's, what time is it? 3 minutes to finish. Oh, Chris, are you here?
No, it's not.
Is he starting at 9:30 or 9:45? All right.
Keep going.
All right. We'll see bars, and we probably want, where's the colors? It works better if you have more than 1 color for bars. And then you get to pick all of the different kinds of directions that you want to have the bars go. I like the one that is compress. Oops. Some of these have been added, and I'm not sure exactly what they do. Sometimes one of the developers wants an extra one, and it'll be in the release notes. I added a new alternate right, and unless you have bars, unless you want to go try it, I'll never remember what all of them are. In circles, be sure you go and try plasma and bubbles. Turn off plasma. If you turn on bounce, when they hit the edges, they'll bounce back.
It's still bouncing on the bottom edge, it's just on the model.
Color wash. Color wash has the best test pattern you can use for any RGB lights. Turn on red, green, blue, and slide the count all the way over. And then maybe not have it be so fast. Oh, where's the speed slider? Right there. Oh, it's done. This is position. Now it's in this. Should be in the layering, I think. I don't. I'll slow it down.
Yeah, it's changed now so that the speed's controlled by either the length of the effect or the number in the count.
And where am I seeing the count? I don't see. Oh, scroll up. There you go. What is the count number?
Effectively, the speed is count in the
It's how many times it'll cycle this effect and the width that you have it. With color wash doing red, green, blue, it will test every pixel to see if you have any weak LEDs. If I ran this on the other panel that's in the room, it'll look perfect on red, and then you come to green, and all of a sudden there will be something that stands out as a different color. That means that LED does not have the 3 LEDs creating the same value as all of its brothers and sisters. You use this one, you'll be very disappointed because it's going to highlight a lot of pixels. You go, crap. Now, if you don't care that the color is perfect, you're not going to unsolder them. If you're playing movies or pictures and you go, something looks like it's having the big screen TV and that one pixel that drives you nuts, this is the pattern that'll find that for you. The choral faces is used by Papagayo to activate singing faces. You will not ever use this manually, because you got to call it 1,000 times or something. The auto faces is used by the Papagayo tab, and it'll draw a face, and you will never use this one yourself. So these 2 faces are the effects that the Papagayo tab will call in order to make singing faces. You don't use them. The fan, Gil will talk about. You can have fire, and does you want to be purple fire, if you're going to be on Halloween or something, you would be able to do that. Fireworks effects. Galaxy is Gil's. Garlands. Change the type of the garland. You can go and play with all the effects, and since you can have 5 or 10 effects per each effect that we have, and you can have 100 effect layers, and then you can have a dozen ways that they interface between each other. I look forward to what you create because it's pretty much unlimited. All right, thank you everybody. I'm gonna let Chris comes up. Did Kristen come in?